I have too many things going on. I've been exhausted this entire week because I did a film festival, a film jam, I guess. They call it a film festival, but to me, I think it's a film jam because it's called Gen 48. It was held by Runway, which is a corporation. So I'm cavorting about with the enemy, just so you're aware. I did a I did a film jam at 48 hours over the weekend to make a film. The criteria you had to generate with Runway had to be 75% or more generated with Runway, had to be 1 to 4 minutes long, and your film must contain a selection from each of the 3 categories below: a location, a character, and an object. You're encouraged to creatively interpret each of your 3 selections in order to better represent your vision and match your film's aesthetic. The videos below are meant to serve as inspiration only. It is encouraged that you meaningfully integrate each of your 3 selected elements into your story. So you had a bunch of these. I chose elevator. For character, there was I chose conflicted leader because I think that any main character is arguably automatically that. So I figured that was pretty easy one to conform to. And then the object I chose was a tube of lipstick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play you guys my short. Okay? Does that sound good? So you know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to show you how I made it. So if you're interested, the short's viewable on my channel on its own. And it's also at largemood.com in my portfolio. That is my AI studio, Large Mood. That's basically the entity I have made to create music videos for that darn racket, and then anybody else who will pay me money to make them something with AI. So anyway, here we go.
Persistence. A trait I love in my allies, but despise in my enemies. You should have been dead 12 floors ago, you know that, right?
You think a lipstick bomb's gonna stop little old me? Please.
I dare say I thought it might, yes.
Really?
Not gonna lie, I'm not terribly upset you weren't blowing your back Celine like that.
Lay off the goat weed, my man. I ain't here on business.
Oh, come on. Let a man who's about to die have his fun.
Stay back. We're not doing that.
What are we doing then?
You tried to kill me. I was out. I was done. I had left all of this. And your goons followed me to a tropical resort. And they started shooting at me. And they're not good at shooting. I cannot have them killing random people at a resort. I had to kill all of them. And it was awesome. I want back in.
You're not supposed to like the killing part. You're supposed to like money, and then that justifies the killing part. Like, whatever.
If I were in your position right now, I wouldn't be too critical of Maid. I don't think.
Speaking of positions, and this isn't a dirty joke, at least not if you want it to be, but I may have one for you, provided you don't kill me, and all.
You are going to pay me a whole lot of money. Like, it's gonna be a lot.
My ex-wife took half to leave. Now you're taking the rest to stay, and we haven't even fooled around.
I mean, I took you for a ride once today. Maybe just write that check fast enough. We'll see what happens.
So yeah, that's the thing. So we are in Runway. This is Runway Gen 4. What you're looking at is it's their main session interface. You can generate images or videos from here. And the feature that I utilized for this video was it's called reference. Over there on the side, so right here we've got references. These are essentially just images. You can see I've got villain, I've got spy woman, I've got a couple of different things. I've got a hotel elevator, elevator interior, more elevator, couple of apartment shots here. And I'm just going to pop them both in the apartment real quick. So villain and spy woman in apartment. So consistency is probably one of the most difficult aspects of AI. The Overwhelmingly Positive video, which is coming out June 3rd, my band That Darn Racket, the video for the first single off of the album I'm releasing is called Overwhelmingly Positive. That's also the name of the album. That, I started working on the Overwhelmingly Positive video probably in whenever I finished the Pony video. So it's been a long time. I've been working on a long time. And a lot of that is because working with various video models and image models, you have to train them in order to get consistent characters. Well, that's no longer a thing. With extremely minimal work here, this is absolutely goddamn incredible. There is no model trained on the environment, no model trained on either of these characters. I have a single picture of each of them. And also, might I add, it was very hard to get two people in a room in one generation. You kind of had to generate the room first and then use an editing tool. I actually use Crea because it has a nice integrated platform where you can do a bunch of stuff. It's a very good platform, and I used it for Overwhelmingly Positive. So you generate the environment, you use Crea Edit, and you use models that you have trained to put characters into the setting, and then you take that image and you put it into an image to video generator. You had to do so many things, and I will go into those things when I do the Overwhelmingly Positive breakdown after that comes out in June. But this is so much simpler. I know this sounds like an ad for Runway or something, but it's not. Runway is probably the AI platform I've been a member of the longest because I was using it before they had serious generative video of any kind. I was using it for Magic Mask-like functionality before DaVinci Resolve had implemented Magic Mask. And also, I did not use DaVinci Resolve. I've used Runway longer than I've used DaVinci Resolve, by a lot. So we're going to take this one and we're going to hit use. So now we have that in our video generation. What would be a funny thing for these guys to do? The robot? Okay, actually that might be possible. We're going to do it in Gen 4. Man and woman suddenly, it might be good if I could spell, break out in the robot dance as camera orbits the room. Very simple prompt. Gen 4 very responsive to very simple prompts. So we're gonna generate 2 10-second videos because that's as many as we can do at once. We're now watching the most boring possible thing, which is loading bars. This is something you're doing a lot of when you're generating stuff. All right, so here we have our generations. Oh. Is that the robot? Let's have a look at our second generation. Ooh, oh. Oh, this is way better than the robot. Wow. So, this is great.
I got a ticket and went to the zoo, and the animals are all having sex.
Okay, that's enough of that. I mean, to be fair, is it something that I would say, shot, done, let's print it, let's put it in our film? No, I would not. Because, and this is something that people need to start understanding more of, AI is not a content button. AI is a crew, and you are a director. You need to get good at describing what you want, because that's what it is. Now we're in DaVinci Resolve, and we have a bunch of stuff, right? What is this stuff that we have? Well, an image, which is just a still image of this elevator. We also have this woman, which I'm going to shut off all of our compositing so you can see the shot that I ended up using is dog shit. The movement, what she's doing, I love. I think is amazing. But that door, that is not how that works. That is not how that works. So I masked her, and she just walks like it's not dog shit. See what I did? But there's another problem here. Well, there's several problems. The fuck is happening here? I had to manually fix that later. And then also, she is not wearing gloves. I wanted her to be wearing gloves, and she's not. So I did another generation. I'll show you that generation. This is using Runway's first frame feature, which you can put a frame over the first frame, and it will attempt to generate the entire image based on that first frame. And I actually reversed it so that this was the first frame. I put the glove on her hand, and I went backwards, and we got gloves. So that means we have that full shot. Now, there are a few little flickers and mess-ups in this shot that caused me to not want to use her walking up. And so, in the actual film, this is what you start doing when you're being particularly creative. You start cutting around what works and what doesn't work. We started fairly zoomed in, and we started a ways into the shot. This is actually, it goes further. She actually walks into it, but we didn't use that. Editing is where you have to start actually thinking. This is why you can't just press a button and get content. That's not how AI works. It has never worked this way, and it never will. I have been clever about which parts of footage. There's another generation here. Like I generated the door opening and her walking in. That's another generation. But yeah, that's how we managed that. Previous to that, I had this. And it looks all right, but it's just not, it's not quite where I want it to be. I don't like how her hand warps here. It really bothers me. And so instead I did here on. I have film emulation on top of it with halation and color correction. It just makes the colors a lot more rich. We have film grain. It really, in my opinion, gives it a much more like 70s film look. So then we've got this shot. And this shot, ooh, it's a humdinger. Sorry, Judah is, he's making noises. He's making noises, so he needs to sit on me. He needs to sit on me. Where's shot number 2? Is this elevator? This is one piece of the source footage. This is where I took the background of the elevator itself from. This is what I wanted out of the camera movement, and obviously not what I wanted out of her. And then, so you'll notice that in this shot, which is the next shot, she does not do what I want her to do in terms of her blocking, but she does do what I want her to do in terms of her position. So, I didn't bother going into the elevator at all, but the doors, for whatever reason, do what they're supposed to do, and she doesn't get fucked up in the shot. Now that is not a particularly useful shot. It looks like it's not what we want, right? Wrong. It's exactly what we want. So we have all of the motion necessary to get what we want out of her, right? Yes. So what we do is we use DaVinci Resolve's Magic Mask, and we get her, and only her, and we layer that on top of the other footage, and we get the final shot. Her masked out, which might I add, I had to be very, very, very smart about right here. If you pay attention, that's where the most obvious problem is. in this shot, but I tracked her, masked her, and she is in there. I painted out our other version of the lady. Doesn't seem to do that. And so we have this final shot, which I think is pretty badass. It's not perfect, but also keep in mind this was for a 48-hour film jam, and this took probably a good hour shot. This was the first major comp. The other one, actually the first one was also pretty major. The first 2 hours were probably the first two shots. It's kind of like, all right, how do we establish what this is without it looking bad? Which is that's to me the most important thing here. Next we have this, which you'll probably notice, or maybe you won't. This was all generated pretty much on its own. It is a combination of several shots, and I'll tell you where the seam is. If you note, she has black gloves on. She doesn't, in the original generation, have black gloves on. I had to regenerate this clip with, well, actually, no. I had to start here and both go this way and go this way. So this is how Runway First Frame works. I took this frame and I went forward and backward a little bit. Using Photoshop, I put gloves on her hands. These hands had just hands before, and now they don't. So with the first frame feature, you can take a video and you can restyle the first frame, and it will attempt to regenerate the video while maintaining the things that you put in. So I added a belt and I added the gloves. Now the belt was not successful, but the gloves were. So you can see right here, this is the clip that I generated. You can't see it too well in motion, but that belt really distorts. Gets not so great. Starts off as belt, very quickly becomes not a belt. Did the exact same thing the other direction. So this is the same thing. That belt it totally fucks up. You can tell without pausing it. It does not maintain the belt. But we have the gloves, and we have the gloves going both directions. This is a reversed clip. I started it from the first frame and I went backwards. But in order to do that, you have to reverse the clip, export it, put it in here, and then generate it. And I have the gloves. And then we go back into our thing and we mask in our gloves. See? Very simple. Very, very simple. Very cheaply and quickly animated masking on the gloves. Not even great stuff here. Really not that great. And if you look, it does not perfectly match either. There is some trickery here. You can see I had softened it. So it looks like this, but it's not perfectly lined up. See? So again, I want to impart on people that you don't just get what you want out of AI. You don't just tell AI, give me this shot and you get the shot magically. It doesn't happen. There's a whole bunch of work that goes into it. And these are, frankly, fairly simple shots. I've done much more complex compositing. Now, I could have left the gloves off and not had that problem. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have thought, oh, this is a problem. She doesn't have gloves in this shot and she has gloves in this next shot. It's AI, whatever. There are people who would have that thought process, but I am not one of those people. It's important to understand that that's not just an inconsistency that you will find in AI shots. If you watch movies, there are movies in which they forget to put gloves on somebody in one shot and they have gloves. I believe one of the James Bond movies has this really intense controversy over whether they did a complete digi-double of Daniel Craig's hands in order to have gloves on him. There's arguments all over the internet because one of the shots looks very much like he has CG gloves or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But continuity, it's a problem outside of AI, but inside AI, it's a bigger problem because your head is scrutinizing it just a little bit more automatically. So this is part of why I don't make the distinction between AI filmmaking and filmmaking. I don't like that. I see a lot of people who are both pro and anti using the phrase AI filmmaking. And I think it does everyone a disservice because if you think that AI can do the filmmaking, you're going to end up with a result that is soulless and stupid and has a bunch of errors in it. And people point out how bad it looks. I mean, I have comments on this video of people pointing out how bad this looks. And I don't think it looks bad at all here. So I got a lot of nice comments on this, like, nice job getting AI to display good emotion. Awesome, love the dialogue. Are the AI voices real? They are really good. I answered, they are both real. It's me performing the voices and then using AI to change them to a different voice. We'll get into that in a little while. I like the shootout at the resort. Pretty good for handmade animation. Thank you. But also people say stuff like, God damn, this looks and sounds like shit. Which it in no way does. Like, in all seriousness, I know the amount of work that went into this. It was a lot. And that work went specifically into ensuring that there's no major jank that takes you out of it. Like, when I make something out of AI, the thing that I'm thinking about is not how do I get a good shot out of AI. I am thinking about that, but that's not the primary thing I'm thinking. I'm trying not to trigger the bad filmmaking reaction in people, which is when you're like watching a film that somebody made and it's not good. And this isn't to shit on people who are just starting out making films. I think that it's important not to shit on people, but like you watch something and a shot is framed wrong, or they don't do the 180 rule or something like that. Like people occupy the wrong parts of the screen when they cut in between two people having a conversation. Your brain, after having seen TV and internet videos and films and cartoons and just tons of media that has established certain standards in filmmaking that you just kind of inherently expect. I'm trying not to trigger a break in that pattern recognition. Now, this is a shot right before she gets blown up. This is a bomb. It's a lipstick bomb. That's how I incorporated that element from the brief. So I stopped here and I actually extended from here and got this reflection to move. It's not very good, but when you're not paying attention, it's enough to understand that the person moved. You see? That's not very good. It's actually pretty bad. But, when you're just moving along, it's enough. And so then we have this explosion. And with the film simulation, I think this is a gorgeous shot. There's nothing about this that you could say, oh my God, what a bad shot. But how did I do it? Well, I have 13 layers comped together. That's how. See? Smoke. I'll try to find the original generation. I'm not sure which one of these. This is the original generation. Created this hallway. Spent a bunch of time getting an elevator thing, like a bay, whatever those are fucking called there. And I'll tell you, it was hard as hell figuring out how to get it to do that because I don't know what those things are called. I just said elevator like a lot, and it just made elevator doors there over and over and over and over until eventually it did this. And I was like, oh my God. So I took that image and I told it to generate an explosion coming out of the elevator. This is what it generated, which, might I add, is very cool, but it is not an explosion. That is not even close to an explosion. It is really cool, though. That is all the debris that we need, to be clear. All right, so I started regenerating it, and that means a lot of changes here. So this is a shot that fire did happen there, but the fire that happened over here, I did not like. And so I masked it specifically so that I've got the fire from the explosion happening in there, right? Next layer is this. This looks amazing. However, there is no fire. So we have this explosion here. That is a generation. That's actually a generation in of itself. You can see the fire is interacting with the hallway. But that explosion did not come out of the elevator. That explosion just happened in the middle of the room for some reason. So I added another layer to that, which includes some smoke. So that looks, in my opinion, better. You need that smoke. Otherwise, it doesn't quite work, And then we add this layer. That is the reflection. This is the exact same stuff, but it's flipped upside down. In my opinion, it looks a lot more natural with the shiny floor. Then I added this smoke asset right here. Looks terrible on its own, but you'll see why. Then I added reflection of the smoke asset. Then I added fire asset, which this is just a fire asset. It is not a generated thing. It's fire on a black background. Then we have our reflection added there. Now it starts looking. So this is our shot so far. Cool. Kinda, we're getting somewhere, right? It's almost looking like that explosion is at least coming out of the stuff that's there, right? This is a restyle. Basically takes that debris and gives us a fireball instead of the debris. Okay? I took the composite mode over here and changed it to lighten. So I let that play out until here. It no longer is useful here. And then we don't have that. So then we bring in another generation, which is the debris again. The debris I've now masked. It kind of looks like dog shit right now. The debris's been masked. Then we add another. I think this is the debris again. Yeah. We add another debris. And this doesn't look perfect, but then we add a glow on it. Which fire is supposed to be overexposed in a camera anyway. It looks very weird if it's not. But we add that glow, and it completely fixes our shoddy masking on the debris shot. And so we have this beautiful shot, which is not quite there yet. Obviously you can see, oh, also this adjustment clip contains an animated camera shake, which is just a matter of moving the camera around. That animated camera shake makes all the difference once you add the sound design in. You love this, it's genius. Thank you very much. And then what we did was we took this shot, which is that. Looks great. It's got all that glow. But then we color correct and do film emulation. And wow, we look at this. This is a beautiful shot. It took a lot of effort. This was a long time of compositing. I have to say that. This wasn't what I would call simple. But you can't argue with that result. There's like 3 or 4 different versions of the explosion generation in there. And then there's 13 layers. Just using certain elements of certain pieces, layering in some little generations of fire and smoke, compositing it, making it project, using effects, using color correction, and using film emulation to make what is ultimately just, in my opinion, I could never have done anything like this before. I first started making videos in 1999. We made little short films, and sometimes they had explosions. But the explosion would be very cheap, because they would either be stock footage that I got off the internet, or they would be some little cheap explosion that we did with some, like, lighter fluid or something, and then layered it on top of something. Watching you get excited about how your shots turned out makes me smile. I'm really glad, because you should have seen me when I got there. When I got the 13 layers together, and I'm like, I was standing up just like, fuck yes, you know? It feels really good to get it how you want it. And the thing is, there's so much to do beyond just generate it. Like there are people who will make the argument to you that AI can be creative. And there are people that think that that's a positive thing and think that it's a negative thing. The people who think that it's negative think that AI is just going to end human creativity because it replaces it. The people who think it's positive aren't coming from a background of actually making things physically or using traditional compositing or stuff like that. They're coming into this thinking, okay, now I have the tools to make whatever I want. And it's true, you do. But these are not the tools to just simply make whatever you want. They're the tools to make pieces of what you want. And then you, as a creative person, have to understand what to do with those pieces. The argument that there's no skill is, to me, as absurd as saying there's no skill involved in making a really quality adventure in Neverwinter Nights Module Maker. Yes, I mean, this is the thing that floats around my Discord the most when people are talking about AI and creativity. They bring up the fact that photography was met with a similar anger, like people who painted this shot. I love this shot. This shot's using Runway's Act 1 feature. Act 1 is really an interesting thing to use. Let me bring up the assets and stuff as they are in here. I also did the first frame thing on her necklace here because that necklace is a frickin' disaster in the original shot, and I took it and I composited that necklace over the real one. So here you can see her necklace is a frickin' disaster here. Look at that. So I regenerated it using first frame and composited. What did I actually did not model her from anybody. I just generated her randomly. To me, she looks like Mila Kunis combined with Cameron Diaz. That's what she looks like to me. But she's just random. Like I literally just generate. I went into Flux, which was where I generated the characters, and I typed in spy woman in black clothes and like did little modifications to that from there. But like she's just some lady. This is the original generation of her. This is the only image that I fed the entire thing. And see, it's got the fucked up necklace, which that was my fault. I didn't fix it here. I should have fixed it here, and then all of my compositing work to fix the necklace wouldn't have had to do it, but it's in the original. I didn't describe her traits. I described her clothes, and I just picked one that had kind of a unique looking face. She's an interesting looking person. Like if you saw this person, you'd be like, she's just kind of got a weird enough face that it's unique, but it's not noticeable. But anyway, that's why I picked her. And it generated this. This is just astounding. It generated this from my image of the apartment and my image of her. You weren't necessarily able to rely on even trained models to give you a perfect output like this. It gets every detail correct, including the fucked up necklace. Do you upscale and add realism in Magnific or Leonardo out of Flux before throwing in a video? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And usually when I upscale with Magnific out of Flux, it fucks up the face, and I have to fix the face in Photoshop, which usually involves erasing some of the upscaleness of it from just the face. And nobody's noticed I do that because the face is technically lower resolution then. But I would even say I didn't do that with this. This was just I tossed the Flux into Runway's reference, and I'm just getting these absolutely, like the belt is completely correct. The necklace is fucked up, but it's completely correct from the fucked up source image. The face, that is unmistakably that person. Hair, hat, it's literally like an astounding piece of software, I guess. So I took that and I generated her. Woman walks forward 2 steps while camera zooms into her face slowly. So we got several generations from that. This is the one I ended up using because that's awesome. Like that is just as cinematic of a shot as you can possibly get. But I didn't just stop there. You know, we did a bunch of different ones. This one's it's good, but it's not what I was looking for. Like I had intended for her to talk dialogue. The fact that she stopped on a mark in this one, this is not only did I use this shot, but I also use it for all of her dialogue where she's not holding the gun up. But anyway, I have that. And so then once we have that, we have Act 1. And this is going to bother you. This is going to bother you. You think a lipstick bomb's going to stop Will Old Me? Because I acted it. And so what's driving her performance? So we have our completely non-lip moving footage here, right? And we have me talking into the webcam. You think a lipstick bomb's going to stop Will Old Me? And that gave us this shot.
You think a lipstick bomb's gonna stop Lil Ol' Me?
Oh, thank you. Then you add in that film simulation. Just look at how crisp and pretty that is. I'll show you real quick what I use to do the voice. It's 11 Labs, their voice changer. It is the voice Serafina, the flirty, sensual temptress. Watch. We're going to record audio. Watch. Why, I can't stand how much I fart. It's not good. Aw.
Why, I can't stand how much I fart. It's not good. Oh.
So, the farting thing, it's maybe a little over the top, but here, I'm going to say something very boring. I am going to file all of this information after I do the data entry and get all of this stuff into the spreadsheets. I will then send it to everyone in the office, CCing the boss, of course. For project management is important.
I am going to file all of this information after I do the data entry and get all of this stuff into the spreadsheets. I will then send it to everyone in the office, CCing the boss, of course. For project management is important.
And it's quite good at understanding when you're not speaking in an American accent, for instance. Like it's taking, and I'm not even doing it very good right now, but I am doing a different accent to show you exactly how much of my performance is inside that voice. It's a lot.
And it's quite good at understanding when you're not speaking in an American accent, for instance. Like it's taking, I'm not even doing it very good right now, but I am doing a different accent to show you exactly how much of my performance is inside that voice. It's a lot.
See? Donald Trump. I actually don't have Trump. I do not have Trump. I don't need Trump. Thank you very much. I believe that I can do just a fine Trump, certainly well enough. I don't need to do more. If I were to do more, I think that perhaps it would be a little bit too much effort. I walked into the room and I said, that guy right there, oh my God, look at him. What a guy. I don't do the Trump one. I don't need to, I can't do a blatantly female voice though. Maybe an old like Marianne Faithfull in The Memory Remains. La 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 la. Da, 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 da. Drift away, fade away, Lil Ting got his. All right, so then I cut a little bit of that and looped it, and that's all of my talking footage. See? And then also there's other footage of her talking with a gun up. How did I do that? That's Act 1. We need the Gen 4 with the gun. Does this have the gun? Oh yeah. Getting her to put a gun up was not super easy. She did a bunch of very awkward things as I asked her to put a gun up. That's not a professional there. Really concentrating on like a bird outside or something. But this one I think is no, it's not the right one. That's not the right one. Jesus, what is she even doing? That's not threatening. But look at this. This is perfect. Now, she does dilly-dally around a little bit. But, like, gun up. Fantastic. And her finger is even not on the trigger. Now, someone who isn't familiar with how you should handle guns might think that's not how that should be. But it's incorrect. That is the correct protocol for holding a handgun. You don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're going to shoot. She's simply giving a warning here. You're not in a position to say shit to me. I'm the one in control here. Now, you put the finger on, that you only do that if you're prepared to kill somebody. Now, you'll notice that her face does not do exactly what you might want it to do, though. She's looking off into whatever. But it doesn't matter what her face is doing because her face is going to do what my face is doing. And then I cut on this source footage also. I cut from here to the end and looped that. And that was my dialogue footage for driving her face when she's talking with the gun up. And then when I had her put the gun down, it's just I reversed the footage. Now this guy, he's a lot of fun. This, you'll find particularly fun. This has about 6% of the model I trained on me in it. Now, I trained a model to make thumbnails for my YouTube videos with, and I used about 6% of it on this guy. Why? Because I have great hair. That's why. And it's not quite my hair, per se. He's got a slightly different haircut. Also, it goes up a little bit higher. He's got a little bit less defined of a hairline than I do. But I like my hair. And I wanted him to have similar hair to my hair because I have the appropriate amount of gray to be like 60 as opposed to 40, which I am. Yeah, I thought he looks like you, but also Donald Sutherland. That's kind of a coincidence. I had a lot of different of him, and this is the guy I picked. I'll show you. This is my input for him. I saw this and I was like, that's him. I did change his clothes. He was not in a white coat, and he did not have that fantastic 1970s like shirt. I love that shirt. But look at the detail that we have from that shitty ass input. Look at this is incredible. Really, really impressive. Really impressive. So anyway, we used him. I did acting, act 1, got him doing expressions. That was actually, I think, the last shot in the entire thing. Isn't it impressive what you can fucking do with this shit? Like, that's not just like lip sync. That's facial capture. I'll show you the footage of me doing that because why not? This is from my laptop. I am now, at this point, very tired and not ready to do anything that isn't involving being in bed. And you could tell from my face. So this is the performance I fed it. Just did that. Got this out of it. Beyond use. It's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. But I've showed you how to do most of the stuff in here. However, there's that flashback, the shootout at the resort. So the resort woman, I had to create reference of the character, not dressed as the character. So got Spy Woman, right? And I just downloaded a picture of somebody in two-piece swimsuit. I didn't want actually that kind of bikini bottoms. I wanted the boy cut because I think that's borderline inappropriate. And I didn't want them to be upset with me. However, I didn't really care that much. I was like, I knew that it would be imprecise. So I just tossed this in and I said, I have the Spy Woman, I have the bathing suit in my references, and I have the resort. Spy Woman wearing bathing suit sitting on a bench at a resort. Very simple prompt. Granted, I got a pretty wide variety of results. Some of them more realistic looking than others. Like that looked realistic. I did get basically what I wanted here. So I took this image and I made this image into my reference. So as you can see, I'm now generating off of this. So basically what I did from there was I tried to get, what I wanted was I wanted this to be the end of the shot. In order to get that, I just prompted woman lays down as camera slowly zooms out. And I tried a lot of times to get some pretty unnatural stuff. This leg stuff going on here, it's not good. This one, I think, was the one that I ended up using. No, it's not, because she went down too hard and it doesn't look like she's getting up. This one? Yeah, it was this one. That one, when reversed, looks like exactly the shot that I wanted. That's this. This is just that reversed. I didn't do anything.
I was done. I had left all of this.
Didn't do anything to it. Didn't expect the amputated leg shot. Yeah, you get a bunch of weird stuff. This one, there's no issue. It's not perfect. That bench it's not doing what a bench does, but also conceivably, maybe there's something that doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? It's not so weird that it's impossible. It's just not what, if you look at it, I would expect the bench to do. But then I got a picture of a SWAT team. I did all this stuff. I mean, surprising. I didn't even really. Now, granted, my first generations of the SWAT team, they're all walking on the water. I had to work with that. That was a problem. But here's my reference for the SWAT team. Literally just, I looked up private military company, I think. I don't know. I don't remember what I looked up. But toss that in. And then I did a resort as the reference. And man, oh man, did it nail it. Except for they're walking on the water like Jesus Christ. I think I tried to do some more of these, but they didn't. Oh, this is her getting the gun. I didn't end up using any of these shots because they're all extremely unnatural and strange. That looks kind of cool, except for where she lands. It's not very good. Once I started getting them on the sidewalks and stuff, like, look at these shots. These are incredible. If they would load. There we go. That looks like a photograph. That's that picture of the resort and that picture of the SWAT team. That's an amazing, like, where we are is just freaking amazing. I mean, if you zoom in really far on, like, their hands, I think there's some fuck up there. But, like, in motion, that fuck up resolves itself very quickly. Like, that's not what a hand looks like, but also when you get into the motion of it, it just resolves itself because it's trying to make a hand in motion. Here is the first person shot that I generated. As you can see, what the fuck is going on here? So what I did was I fixed that in Photoshop. And that allowed me to generate this. And as you can see, they stopped walking on the water and they fell through the water. All right. So right here, I pressed this button, use frame, which, well, actually it might have been lower. I think wherever they were basically in the water where they should have been if they were in the water, I hit use frame. And when you do that, look what happens. Input for video. Right there, I now have that frame as my first frame for my generation. So I click generate and everything comes after that. And I generate people in pool in firefight. First, actually, in all of my generations where I did that, it says, here's the first frame you can see. I have some splash in there, so it looks like it's mid-shot. FPS game at resort. Player takes aim and shoots while enemies shoot. Look at that. Not perfect, but pretty good. And then I did this. These are okay shots. They're just a little weird. They weren't really usable like that. And then I started wanting to get running shots. But I'd say most important, the shot that I really want to show you, also, I introduced a Glock to the reference, and you get really cool results, except for none of these. This one basically works. Like, that looks great. I didn't use this for anything, but that looks real good. Just a little bit of cleanup right here on the gun. I don't think that looks quite right, but big deal. So I wanted a fisheye shot of her walking towards the camera. This was what I got. This was the best that I got, might I add. None of these really are what, like, look at this. Look at this shit. This is fucking, like, look at this shit. Look at this. That is the most unpleasant thing. Look at the arm. Look at what's happening here. That, like, it's trying to do a fisheye. And because, like, it apparently doesn't know what to do for that, we're getting problems. This one's also funny to me. Basically almost there, but, like, it's also like, I'm not really sure how a gun works right now. This looks pretty good, but it's not quite what I wanted. She's too far away from it. And also, I mean, there's a big gun floating here too, but that's not really that big of a problem. You can kind of Photoshop that out without a lot of work. This one is so close, but it's not what I wanted exactly. Would be way less work if you intended to be a wacky surrealist comedy. That's true, but here's the trick. If you're trying to win a film competition, which, by the way, that's what this was made for specifically, that's like, they're trying to show off how realistic their features in their stuff is. Like, in all seriousness, this is just marketing on their part. They're like, we're going to have a film jam, you're going to use our tools, and you're going to use our brand new tool. We got to use reference before anybody else. And all these film jam things came out with people trying their best to make reference work well. So, I mean, brilliant marketing on their part. Exploitative, maybe, but brilliant marketing on their part. But anyway, so I took all that footage, I put it all together in this sequence, added gun sounds. This shot's pretty funny to me too.
Good at shooting. I cannot have them.
Then I took this shot. As you can see, I got this shot looking very good. I did, of course, add my own distortion to that fisheye. Like, I added this muzzle flash, I added smoke and distortion to each of these shots. Really, I think, very effective. And then I added this real, like, dreamy, Instagrammy filter to all of it, which is, it's a lot of glow, it's a lot of film grain. The whites are a little bit compressed. It really makes... It sells the fact that this is a flashback, and it also covers up some of the minor flaws in some of the generations. It also, like, that looks fantastic. This shot looks so good with that glow and that stuff on top of it. I'm just really happy with that shot. Even though, if you look, the gun is actually really fucked up. When it's in motion, you can't really tell. These shots, I mean, it's all, in my opinion, really cool. And this shot, I did this zoom in and camera movement myself. I think that's all of the difficult shots out of it. All of the stuff that was, I mean, at this point, like, you know how that works. At this point, it's Runway's Act 1, and just me acting, and then I used a voice changer. But that's pretty much all of the stuff that I did, and I did this in 48 hours. That was the point of it. It was basically a film jam, a 48-hour film jam. And obviously they were essentially doing it to show off the various features in their new tool that they released. Anyway, I hope you were able to learn something here, because the reason I'm doing this is because I want to put two things out into the world. The first thing I want to put out there is that AI, it's not just a make content button. You have to do lots of things. You have to know what you want. You have to care about what you're doing. You have to care about the context. Again, my process is I'm doing everything possible not to break the pattern recognition of a film. I'm trying not to trigger the bad film reaction. I'm not doing AI filmmaking. I'm doing filmmaking, and I'm using AI as a tool. Now, the way that I wrote all of the lines for this is I did not write them, actually. This short is more or less the slowest improv you've ever seen. I'm essentially, for absolutely everything that happened in this thing, I get through a shot and I go, okay, well, what's the next thing that could happen that's cool? What's a good line? What's a good event? What is a good shot, etc. And it's just what works the best next. I did not have a storyboard, no. This was purely like what makes sense from a filmmaking perspective next. If I storyboard, it's going to take forever. It's going to be goddamn perfect, but it's going to take forever. Again, this was a 48-hour film competition. I knew that if I didn't start generating stuff right away, I wasn't going to get done. Like, if I decided, I'm going to write this, I'm going to get it to a point where I like it, and then I'm going to start generating stuff. I knew that it would be like more than a day of writing, because I'm not a fast writer. I am not a fast writer. I do not do the first thing that comes out of my head. I do many, many different things, and I pick the best one. Because that's, in my opinion, what creativity is. Creativity is subtractive. It's editing. You do not pluck original things from the ether. That's not how creativity works. A lot of people think that it is, but it is not. You have a million bajillion things you have seen in your life, from finished works to places to people to experiences to problems that you've had to solve. You've got tons and tons of that stuff. And creativity is imagining all of that stuff as a block of marble, and you chisel away to get something. Creativity is essentially the slow limiting of scope until you get something that reflects what you're trying to say. And in the case of this, what was I trying to say? Well, nothing too heavy. I wanted to communicate fun. Like I wanted to kind of make like the reason I went with a kind of spy thriller comedy thing is because I've seen a lot of those movies throughout my life. And I felt like, we can talk a little bit about their relationship, small pieces of my life and small pieces of things that entertain me and small pieces of lots of different things. And the sensibility that I have accumulated over the course of my life, put those things together, limited the scope just to those things, and this is what comes out. That's how creativity works. It's not, well, I shall make a spy thriller, and it shall be about these two characters who are this way and this way. That's not it at all. Like, it was probably near the end of day one that I had these two characters, like, different from each other. The only difference they had when I started was that one had an English accent and one did not. That was the first thing. The first thing I wanted to do is show that AI isn't just a button that creates things for you, but it is a tool for you to exercise creativity. The second thing is I wanted people to understand that this is extremely accessible stuff. Other than it's not cheap. $78 a month is it's steep for unlimited generations. And if you're going to try to make something on this kind of a level, you're going to need unlimited. Because to be frank, like, I think there was something like 270 some generations when I was doing. I generated 270 some videos and a bunch of images, obviously, but 270 some videos in order to get what is, I think 32 shots. I didn't count them exactly, but it's somewhere around 32 shots total. So there's a lot, and some of them are like maybe like 20 different generations, some maybe 2 or 3. But the second thing I'm getting at is that this stuff is there, and it does not take a whiz. It takes learning. It takes learning some techniques. It takes some patience, and it takes some time. And you can do this. Now, I'm not saying that I've made the best thing in the world. Art is very extra communication. It is you attempting to say something to other people in the most extra possible way. And the way that you do that is by distilling your experience and putting that experience forward. Again, I'm not living in a spy movie, but I'm dealing with some back and forth type stuff with somebody that I care about a great deal. It's not this. It's not violent. It's not scary. It's not. It doesn't involve any killing. But that's something that I was thinking of at the time. Like, all right, let's go with it. Let's go. We got 48 hours. Let's go with it. Creativity is not additive. It is subtractive. You are making a roux out of a soup. You are rendering out the liquid into a solid thing that's got a lot more taste. You get what I'm saying? When you are being creative, you're distilling. You're not materializing. There is no materializing. There's no such thing as materializing. There's nothing that you can say or do or think or experience that doesn't draw on the outside world. You are, even though you are creative, you are acting, the human dynamism element is undeniable. You are constantly reacting to the world around you. Even in your actions, they are reactions. Matter can't be created or destroyed. It's the exact same thing with this stuff. You are distilling. That's why I am so against intellectual property. Well, that, and I'm against the concept of value generating property being held in private ownership anyways. But like, intellectual property itself is such a horrible idea when you want to encourage creativity, because it requires us to assume that everything is unique. It is not. It is, your lens is unique. The way that you see things is unique, but it's unique because your experience is unique. You have taken in a different set of finished works, whether that be art, photos, movies, whatever. You have taken in a different selection of that than other people. On top of that, you have a different set of experiences than other people. That's what you're drawing on. But intellectual property makes people think that Star Wars is just like this amazing original thing that George Lucas came up wholly out of nowhere, when in fact George Lucas himself has consistently talked about how he's using Flash Gordon to talk about the Vietnam War. Like this book by Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist. It's not like a novel or any. It's kind of it's a book that I think everybody should read. Page 1, How to Look at the World Like an Artist. Every artist gets asked the question, where do you get your ideas? The honest artist answers, I steal them. Nothing is original. Truly, this book is fantastic. It's important to understand when he says nothing is original, he's not saying we aren't unique or original even. It's saying everything comes from what came before. To put it in another way, there's Kirby Ferguson, thank you. His name is Kirby Ferguson, thank you very much. A series by Kirby Ferguson called Everything is a Remix. And it also does a very good job of explaining this set of points in a different way. And when we start talking about artificial intelligence and generative images and generative video, people start saying, oh, you're using artists' work. Yes, that's true. It's also like that when you're not using generative AI, but artificial intelligence does not have any actual art in its database. It holds no images, none. It holds parameters that to the AI describe the images, the relations to different types of things. Like, okay, this is what a brushstroke looks like, and this is what things look like near a brushstroke, and this is what colors typically go next to this in this type of an image, et cetera, et cetera. That is a generative image or video model. It is not a set of images or videos. It was trained on a set of images or videos. Training is it looking through a bunch of images and videos and going, okay, well, this, I'm describing this to myself, this, I'm describing this to myself, et cetera, et cetera. When you use a generative image model or a generative video model, you are utilizing what is essentially a simulated memory generator, which is to say, if generative AI is stealing, then creating anything is stealing, because everything you're doing embodies some degree of everything you've seen. That's why I got so pissy over H-Bomb's stupid plagiarism in YouTube video. That's why I fought with BreadTube and all of these leftists who decided that being a landlord is bad unless it's about your art. And then it's good. But that's why I've been fighting with all of these people. It's not because I think AI is perfect or anything, because it is something that is contextualized by the economic system that exists today. It is a form of automation, and automation in capitalism devalues products, devalues the end work, because the value that is embodied in a product is that of the human time that went into it. Because the time that a human has is the only constant and finite thing that you can measure the production of something with. And if there is no human labor that goes into something, then that thing becomes less valuable because it takes less people to make it, takes less time to make it, it takes less time out of a person's life to make that thing. And that bothers a lot of people, not because it's stealing from artists, although that's what they think. It bothers a lot of people because capitalism works the way it works. It devalues the product. But here's the thing with art. Art is not meant to be a product. Art was never a product before. Art was an interesting thing up until we invented monetary exchange. And then we started making, for aristocrats, art collection as a hobby. And then slowly that developed into what we have today, which is I can be a petty bourgeoisie and hold a bunch of property that I have created and charge people rent for it or sell it. That's what all of these Twitter artists that get pissy about AI are. They're just a bunch of like petty bourgeoisie people who believe that someday they're going to be hot bourgeoisie. Now, they might not admit that to themselves, but they believe they're going to make it and they're going to make millions and millions of dollars someday. They're not, by the way, because most of them are making like commissions of, well, like that Zach Scott meme, where literally every single picture of Daisy he could find on Twitter, he commissioned the original artist to make into Elephant Daisy. Like, if you go back far enough, you will find a time that art was done because people just did art. And if we are able to transcend the limitations that capitalism places on us, that ultimately sends us into economic crisis and demands degrowth eventually in order to maintain the boom and bust cycle. You have to crash out and get rid of a bunch of shit so that you have to produce a bunch of shit and need capitalism again. If we're able to resolve that at some point and make it so that you don't need to like find some way to make your work commercially viable to be a real, like, I spend most of my time creating artist, that will be the solution. The solution is not getting mad at new technology, because the new technology is purely contextualized by the system around it. You have to address the system around it. If you keep getting mad that, a certain type of hammer exists, a better hammer, if you get mad that a better hammer exists, because all of the people with the old hammer will do the nailing much less good, you're totally focused on the wrong thing. And that's what all of these people get into. You, as a person who might want to make a short film or a long film, with the way that Reference and Act 1 work, along with Gen 4, which is a very good video model, we're getting to the point where we're on the cusp of being able to make things that actually communicate the things that we have inside of us. I want to put out there that people can do things. This was the first weekend that I had with this particular tool, and I am really proud of the results. It took all of the types of knowledge that I've accrued over decades now. It's 2025, so in 4 years, I will have been making videos for 30 years. And it's taken all of that knowledge, all of that learning. It's the culmination of that. There's no button that just makes it for you. You saw what I did with that explosion. It takes time, effort, energy. There's stuff that you can't automate. And even if you could automate, I don't know that you could get a film with it. But I want people to understand you can do it. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. There's so many tutorials on YouTube that go well beyond my skill. And if you just spend time watching them and learning from them, you can do any of this stuff. You could probably do it much better than I can, because I'm a stubborn bitch. I'm very, very stubborn. When certain things happen, like some new way of doing something happens, if it's like a minor change in like DaVinci Resolve, for instance, big things I am really able to embrace quickly, but little things I'll do it with time. Like you saw, even in this, like this is a 13 layer comp, and I did it in the edit timeline. Now I am fluent in Fusion, which is node based. It's node based compositing. It's technically way more powerful and you can get better results, but it's slower. Also, my GPU has now failed. I'm going to close out. Fusion is better. It's faster, like in terms of performance, but doing it is actually harder for me anyways, because that's not how I came into compositing. I came into compositing via After Effects. Node-based is better. Like without question, it's better. And I am learning that, but it took me a very long time to say, I'm actually going to learn that. And even here, where I needed to do that comp quickly, I did not use Fusion. I used 13 layers in a timeline. So it's sometimes hard to embrace the new things, but it's also not possible not to. If you refuse the new things, if you refuse the automation, if you refuse new tools, you will get left behind. And yes, they do sell vinyl records for $50 now. The Chapel Roan LP is $50 in Target. I saw that. I don't really buy a lot of records. I buy them more for collection, like having a cool thing. Like I have some Royal Blood records that I think are fun. But that's not how most people are listening to music. They're not buying vinyl records. That's a boutique thing. It's for people who either want to have a cool collector's item, or for people who are snobs and dislike automation and new tools, dislike digital, dislike anything new. They want to go back to the good old days. Like, those are the two types of people that like vinyl. I like vinyl for a collector's item. Like, I'm probably not going to listen to, if I may listen to the vinyl, but it's fun to have and like hang up or put in a rack on the wall or something. You know what I mean? It's less of a means to listen to music than it is, A, you're partly supporting the band that made it, and B, it's something tactile to just have and maybe use in your decoration or display somewhere, something like that. Resisting change is bad. You cannot do that. And you can do everything I showed you. That's the point today. I don't really have a lot else to say. I had a good time with you guys. I hope you enjoyed all of the insights, but I hope that what I put here is useful and helpful in some way, and I hope you have a great day. I will talk to you soon.